So the series finale of The Walking Dead has arrived. What are my thoughts? Was it good? Was it great? Was it horrible? I'm going to go over my thoughts in this video, and if you've seen any of my other episode analysis videos, I usually recap the episode and then give my analysis, but given that this episode is so fresh and new, I'm just going to combine that and give my actual review at the end. So let's discuss the series finale of The Walking Dead. Rest in peace. The episode starts off with Daryl carrying Judith in the hospital where he yells for help, but he promptly gets knocked out by some Commonwealth soldiers who then leave, making Judith have to shut the door by herself, where she also passes out. After an opening credit scene where the music is slightly changed, we cut to our characters surrounded by walkers where Luke and Jules are taken out in all of 30 seconds. See, while this is sad, I guess, we've seen Luke for a total of 17 episodes, 3 of them being in season 11. I know Luke primarily because he's Jacob Kowalski from the Fantastic Beasts movies. I know that he likes music, that he's kind of funny, and that's it. He's also part of this group, which I also find funny that this entire group that Judith saved back in season 9, that every single one of them is alive, and while this might be an unpopular opinion, the only character that I even remotely care for in this group is Connie. Yumiko actually had a great storyline this season, so I'll put her there too. Kelly is Connie's sister, so that makes me care for her somewhat, and Magna has done little to nothing since she's been in the show. Daryl gives Judith his blood since he's a universal donor, which seems a little bit convenient, but he says that Merle used to make him sell his blood for money, and you know what? This is the final episode, so I'll take any mention of any previous character that we can get. Mercer gets broken out of the prison, and the group all gets reacquainted with one another as they head to the hospital. Rosita, Gabriel, and Eugene search for Coco, which is in a house ravaged by zombies. Rosita goes to get her, having absolutely no regard for the child's hearing, as she absolutely unloads bullets on a walker in anger, but hey, I mean, they're reunited at last. Judith finally wakes up and worries that she's gonna die, saying that her mom's going to look for her dad, and they're all gonna be together, and Daryl realizes what this means. Judith falls back asleep, and Daryl barricades the door, very similar to how Shane did for Rick back in season 1. The group fends off the walkers, one of whom has a rock trying to smash through the glass, again very similar to a walker back in season 1. The walkers get in, and Daryl has to get the stuff out of the way of Judith's room, making me wonder why he did that in the first place, and they all get out of the hospital in a tracking shot that's actually pretty cool. Eugene, Gabriel, and Rosita fight their way through a horde of walkers outside, climbing up a pipe where Rosita gets pulled back down into the group, but she's fine because there's a safety mat there that's gone a second later when she pops up out of the horde like a superhero. Some time later, the people outside the mayor's house all stand there waving to her. The group brings Judith to Yumiko's brother, who says he'll do what he can, but I'm really wondering, did anybody really expect Judith to die here? Did you really think that they were going to take out another Grimes and leave us with only RJ? Aaron talks to Lydia, who's upset about her arm, but also about Luke and Jules. For some odd reason, I don't think they ever actually spoke any words to one another, but whatever. Maggie looks for Negan and finds him with the rifle to go and take out Pamela. She asks him what his problem is, and he says he doesn't have any problem. He just wants to be the one to kill Pamela, so that way if there's repercussions for the action, they fall on him and not Maggie. Negan apologizes for taking away Glenn from her and her son, and he says that he can sympathize with it because he almost lost his wife Annie, who's not in this scene, or any scene in this episode for that matter. Maggie takes the gun and invites Negan up to the sniper party, where he happily comes with her. Now we see the scene with Rosita holding Coco, and she shows Eugene that she's been bit. I'm just gonna rip off this band-aid right now, and you can be upset with me if you want, because I've seen a fair share of comments saying that they were really crushed by Rosita's death, but for me, this being the big death of the episode didn't really do anything for me. Was it sad? Sure, but Rosita has never been anything to me than just another side character. What you will probably all be surprised about knowing is that Rosita has been in more episodes than Rick Grimes. I can name maybe 1 or 2 notable scenes she has. I really like her friendship with Eugene, but that's about it. Rosita has been a character who's just kind of been there, and just because a character is around for a long time does not equate how much you should care for them. Daryl calls Judith little ass kicker when she wakes up, of course a callback to what he first called her when he first held her back in season 3. Daryl asks if what she said about Rick being alive is true, and she says that it is, but she just didn't want to tell him because she was worried that he would leave her too. Daryl says he's right there and he's not going anywhere, but at the end of the episode he promptly does go somewhere to go and find Rick, so Judith loses not only one, but 2 more parental figures considering Negan also leaves. Poor Judith. And RJ, I guess. I don't really know much about him. Mercer sees that they're killing anybody trying to climb over the fence, and he goes out to fight, Ezekiel rallying the troops behind him, saying that this is indeed their fight, so they all arrive, somehow, inside the premises of Pamela's mansion, and Mercer says that Pamela has let this place down by leaving thousands of people outside to die, but this is certainly not 1,000 people, maybe like a couple dozen at most. Gabriel goes to open the gates, where Pamela says to shoot him, but Daryl is the one who says stop and gives his best impersonation of a Rick Grimes motivational speech by saying open the gates because we have one common enemy.
We ain't the Walking Dead.
This is yet another callback to Rick Grimes, but Rick actually says we are the Walking Dead. So I understand this parallel, but it also, for some strange reason, doesn't sit right with me. Father Gabriel opens the gates, which is actually an ending to his own character arc, and I would not have noticed this if it weren't for one of my subscribers. I'll put their comment up on screen now, so thank you for this, but Father Gabriel started in this series as somebody who shut the door on people and listened to all of them die in his church, and the ending of his arc is opening the door to save people. There was a lot to do in this episode when it comes to resolving character arcs, and not all of them were done well, but I actually think this was pretty great. Pamela sees a zombified version of Lance Hornsby and goes to get bit by him, I guess, until Maggie shoots Lance with the sniper. She says that now they're going to take this place back, and Mercer comes up with a new plan, setting up a bunch of fuel tanks at Pamela's estate and playing music set to rigged explosion. This is actually a great plan. I'm not sure how they engineered it so quickly, but I just want to talk about something that I think is actually so messed up in this scene. We have all these characters setting up different speakers to draw the walkers inside, and we cut to Connie, who sets up a speaker, but it's not really working, and then we just cut away. So at first I was thinking, oh no, is Connie gonna not get some sort of signal and not be able to make it out in time? But no, she's absolutely fine. So this scene is just to add what? Make fun of Connie because she can't hear? I don't know, that's just really weird to me, and like I said, I actually do care about Connie, so don't go making fun of my girl like that. And then the music stops playing, and we see where 95% of the budget for this season went into absolutely destroying all of the rich people homes of the Commonwealth, which is very clear symbolism, but it's a cool shot nonetheless. We get a scene of Pamela in jail saying that their job isn't going to be easy, and Carol says something along the lines of, well, we don't have to worry about who gets your house. Pamela looks like she's got a plan of vengeance. Oh boy, I can't wait to see what tricks she has up her sleeve next season. Oh wait, this is the series finale? Okay, never mind. The rest of this episode is dedicated to setting up the spin-offs. So with spin-off number 1, we have Maggie sitting down with Negan. She talks about how she'll never love someone like she loved Glenn ever again. She says that all she sees when she looks at Negan is how he killed Glenn, but she also says that she sees that he's trying and how grateful she is that he saved her son. She says she'll never be able to forgive him, but he's earned his place, and there might be some days she can't look at him, but he and Annie can stay there if they want to. Negan doesn't say a word, but he's clearly very hurt. And then it's time for happily ever after. They toast to Luke by calling him a loser, and Daryl looks out the window at Negan, both of them nodding at each other. I really like this one simple gesture between the two of them. Daryl and Negan were never gonna bro hug it out, that would be insane, but a simple nod says so many different things between them, and this is really the perfect scene for them saying goodbye. Rosita tells Gabriel that she's bit, though she still looks as gorgeous and non-sickly as ever, and Maggie and Carol take her up to bed like she's had too much to drink before they say goodbye. Gabriel and Eugene say goodbye, and it is rather touching, but it drags on a bit too long. It actually doesn't drag on at all. I've seen that comment quite a lot, but it feels like it drags on because it's Rosita. If this were Rick, Carol, Michonne, Maggie, Daryl, even Negan, this would definitely be an appropriate amount of time. We then cut forward another year, and my first thought was, is Rick and Michonne gonna be here? Because if so, yay, but that would also kind of suck. But it equally sucks because now we know that at least 8 years have gone by since Rick has been gone. But we see Ezekiel and Mercer, who are now in charge of, I think, the Commonwealth. I'm not really too sure where this is. Daryl says hello/goodbye to Connie, and Lydia hugs Judith with the arm that she lost, but okay, and she gives Judith a present. It's her watch that she gave Negan, and he's returning it to her. I would have liked another scene between Negan and Judith, but given that these two characters will probably be together again, I'm not too upset, and therein lies the problem of this episode, but I'll get to that in a second. Everyone's catching up with each other when Daryl and Maggie talk. Maggie says there's a lot more out there, and I think it's time we find it, or something along those lines, which is quite literally the most obvious line you could ever use to set up some more spin-offs. Daryl says goodbye to Carol, saying it's not like we're never gonna see each other again, so I guess that's good news. Carol says that Daryl is her best friend, and he says that he loves her before saying goodbye to Judith and RJ, saying he's gonna go and find both of their parents and bring them home. Judith says that Daryl deserves a happy ending too, which could either be foreshadowing or the start to a very tragic character arc. But Daryl says he loves Carol and rides off into the sunset. And that's it. That's the entire episode. Oh wait, nope, there's one more scene. This scene was everything I hoped it would be and more when it comes to a glimpse at Rick and Michonne in the finale. I really thought that the only scene we were going to get was like this one by the fire or something akin to it, but the fact that we got some answers and a few more questions in this one scene was really more than I expected, and this was far and away the best scene of the episode. I'm not going to get too in-depth with this scene. I've already done that in a separate video. I'll leave a card for it in the top right corner right now if you want to check it out. Now, watching this episode the night it aired, I wasn't really appreciating the story ending of the characters at hand. I had a pretty strong feeling that we were going to see Rick in this episode, so the whole time I was just anxiously awaiting his arrival, and I kind of knew it was going to be right at the end, but it didn't stop me from getting super excited the whole day thinking that I was finally going to see Rick Grimes again. If you've seen the other video, then you've seen my reaction, and it's safe to say I was a pretty happy guy. But that made me feel like the rest of the episode was pretty lackluster. Watching it again, I don't share that same feeling. I do think the episode has some issues. I've talked a lot about them, but my main issue with this episode is that it doesn't feel like a series finale. Sure, everything is wrapped up all nice and neat in a happier manner than we've ever seen before, but you take those last few minutes out or even just change the tone a little bit, and this feels like your very typical season finale, complete with a cliffhanger ending. Someone 5 or 10 years down the road is going to start watching this show from the very beginning, seasons 1 through 11, and when they get to this episode, they're going to be so completely confused because this isn't a true ending. And at that point, 5 to 10 years from now, the spin-offs will be in like their 3rd seasons, and who knows, we'll probably also be getting Dog, the spin-off, at that point. It's going to be so daunting for anybody new to try and watch the show. They even said after the episode that the end of The Walking Dead is only the beginning of a bigger universe. This is not a complete story. Daryl's going off to find Rick and Michonne, Maggie talks about how there's a bigger world out there, and of course the Rick and Michonne scene poses more question than answers, so this doesn't even remotely feel like the end at all. This is the season finale of season 11, but this is not the series finale of The Walking Dead. I never felt even a little bit sad that the show was ending, because now we're getting 3 spin-offs based on characters I do truly care about, and we won't be getting any more Luke-type deaths. In fact, I'd go as far as to say I'm actually happy that the Walking Dead universe is getting a fresh start with these new shows. The people who want to watch the Rick and Michonne show are going to need to watch up to Rick's departure, maybe Michonne's last episode, and then they'll be able to watch this new show without having to touch the rest of seasons 9, 10, and 11. Of course, fans who watch those seasons will be rewarded by knowing more information, but it won't be a necessity to watch. Dead City and the Daryl show might be a little bit different, but I'm sure they're going to make it the same type of way. If you watch The Walking Dead, then you'll get all the references of the past, but it won't be essential viewing. I'd expect the first episodes of these spin-off shows to reiterate what's happened, Maggie and Negan's relationship to each other, maybe even complete with flashbacks. There's far too many loose ends and character arcs that are incomplete, not to mention Rick isn't even back with his family. Even a lot of the things that were set up in 11C weren't even brought to a close in the final episode. What were the partnerships that Lance was talking about? What's Designation 2? Who/what's B-17? What were the point of all the variants? All of these things are either going to be forgotten about or delved into further in future shows, so this episode doesn't work as a series finale. And there's plenty of other unanswered questions as well, so look out for that video coming soon. This episode felt like a season finale, and in that regard, it was a good episode. but as a series finale, this was not a good episode. With all this being said, 2023 is going to be a huge year for The Walking Dead. Like I said, I'm actually very excited for the future of this universe, with shows focusing on characters that I do care about, and hopefully the ones that they introduced will learn to care about as well. There's a ton of potential in this universe going forward, and I even saw a few people ask me if I'm done making Walking Dead videos, and I'm here to tell you all that, unfortunately, no, I am not. Rest assured, you can expect more episode and character analysis, as well as theories and breakdowns in the future. So let me know your thoughts down below on the finale, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and join my Discord to talk some more Walking Dead and really any and all nerdy things. I hope to see you there. The link is in the description, and I hope to see you in the next one.
Yeah.